Brainmaker, The Power of Gut Microbes to Heal and Protect Your Brain for Life by David Perlmutter, MD. Picture this. Two babies, born on the exact same day, but whose lives couldn't be more different. The first is a boy who takes his first breath on a sun-soaked Greek island in the Aegean Sea. He arrives naturally, at home, surrounded by love. For 2 glorious years he nurses at his mother's breast. His childhood unfolds simply, beautifully. No drive-thrus, no neon-colored sodas. Instead, vegetables straight from the garden, fish caught that morning, tangy homemade yogurt drizzled with golden olive oil. He spends his days under the endless blue sky, working alongside his family on the farm, breathing air so clean it almost sparkles. When he gets sick, which isn't often, his parents reach for a spoonful of honey, because antibiotics? They're practically unheard of here. He'll grow up strong and lean, energetic and connected. Depression, Alzheimer's, brain fog, these will be strangers to him. On his island, called Icaria, people routinely celebrate their 100th birthdays with minds as clear and sharp as mountain streams. Now, shift your attention to the second child, a girl born in a packed American city. Her entrance into the world happens on a schedule, in a sterile operating room, via C-section. Formula becomes her primary source of nutrition from day one. As she grows, infections become unwelcome companions: ears, throat, sinuses, each one met with yet another round of antibiotics. Her kitchen pantry overflows with options, but most of them come in crinkly packages. Processed meals, desserts loaded with refined sugar, oils that do more harm than good. By elementary school, she's carrying extra weight and showing signs of pre-diabetes. Focus eludes her in class. Anxiety becomes a constant hum in the background. By adulthood, she'll face a frightening lineup of risks: mood disorders, splitting migraines, autoimmune conditions, and possibly, eventually, Alzheimer's. So what creates such wildly different destinies? It's not random luck. It's not purely genetics either. The answer is hiding in plain sight, deep within our bodies. A secret so revolutionary, it's completely transforming how we understand health. Today, we're diving into the groundbreaking work of Dr. David Perlmutter, a renowned neurologist whose book Brainmaker reveals this very secret. After rocking the health world with Grain Brain, which exposed how sugar and carbs wreak havoc on our minds, Drive Perlmutter takes us even deeper. He makes a stunning argument. The real control center for your brain's health isn't tucked inside your skull, it's in your gut. By the time we're done here, you'll understand something remarkable. You are not simply an individual, you're an ecosystem. A walking, breathing home to trillions of microscopic organisms that hold tremendous power over your mood, your memory, your immune system, and your vulnerability to chronic disease. You'll discover how these microbes are the true brain makers. And I promise, you'll never look at your body, your food, or your health quite the same way again. For centuries, bacteria have been cast as the villains. We've seen them as invaders, carriers of plague and death. We douse our hands in sanitizer, swallow powerful antibiotics to annihilate them, and live in environments scrubbed cleaner than ever before. But here's the twist. Dr. Perlmutter argues that this war on germs has been a colossal mistake. We've been fighting the wrong enemy. Here's the truth. We are more bacteria than we are human. Right this second, roughly 100 trillion microbes are living inside and on you. Bacteria, fungi, viruses, outnumbering your human cells 10 to 1. If you could somehow collect them all, they'd fill a half-gallon container and weigh about 3 to 4 pounds, roughly the same weight as your brain. This bustling, invisible universe living within you is called the microbiome. And the science is crystal clear. The health of this inner world determines the health of your outer world. Over 2,000 years ago, Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, declared, "All disease begins in the gut." He had no microscope, no genome sequencing, yet his intuition was spot on. Today, We're finally catching up to his ancient wisdom. Dr. Perlmutter shows us that what's happening in your intestines is shaping your risk for everything from attention deficit disorder and anxiety to depression, multiple sclerosis, and Alzheimer's. But how is this even possible? How can tiny organisms in your belly control the most complex structure in the known universe? Your brain. The connection is surprisingly direct. Imagine your brain and your gut as two major cities connected by a massive superhighway. This highway is real and physical. It's called the vagus nerve, one of the longest nerves in your body, running from your brainstem all the way down to your abdomen. Information flows along this highway in both directions. When you feel butterflies before a big presentation, that's your brain sending signals down to your gut. But here's what scientists are discovering. The traffic flowing the other way, from gut to brain, is far, far heavier. Your gut actually has its own nervous system, so vast and complex that researchers have nicknamed it the second brain. This second brain contains hundreds of millions of neurons, more than your spinal cord. And here's where it gets truly fascinating. Your gut bacteria are constantly chatting with this second brain, producing chemical messengers that speak directly to your brain in its own language. Take serotonin, that famous feel-good molecule. It's the target of popular antidepressants like Prozac and Zoloft. We've always thought of it as a brain chemical. But here's the shocker. Somewhere between 80 and 90% of all your body's serotonin isn't made in your brain at all. It's manufactured in your gut, and its production is heavily influenced by your resident bacteria. This might explain why, for so many people, antidepressants fall short, while simple dietary changes work wonders. They're trying to fix a head problem that actually starts in the belly. This gut-brain connection is the foundation of our health. But when this connection gets disrupted, when the ecosystem in our gut falls out of balance, a fire ignites throughout the body, a fire called inflammation. You hear about inflammation all the time, but what does it actually mean? Think about getting a splinter. The area turns red, swells up, feels hot and painful. That's your immune system rushing to the scene, creating a controlled burn to eliminate the invader and kickstart healing. This is acute inflammation, and it saves lives. But what happens when that fire doesn't go out? What if it smolders quietly, day after day, not on your skin but deep inside your body, even inside your brain? This is chronic inflammation, and Dr. Perlmutter identifies it as the common thread running through nearly every modern degenerative disease: heart disease, cancer, diabetes, arthritis, and yes, brain disorders. An Alzheimer's patient's brain is, quite literally, a brain ablaze. So what lights this fire? The answer leads us straight back to the gut. Your intestinal wall is incredibly delicate, just one cell thick. Its job is to be a gatekeeper, allowing vital nutrients into your bloodstream while blocking harmful substances. But this barrier can get damaged. When it does, it becomes permeable, or leaky. Picture a tightly woven screen door that suddenly develops holes. Now, things that should have stayed inside your gut, undigested food particles, toxins, fragments of bacteria, can leak into your bloodstream. One of the most dangerous of these is a molecule called lipopolysaccharide, or LPS for short. LPS is part of the outer wall of certain gut bacteria. It's harmless when it stays put in the gut, but when it leaks into your blood, your immune system treats it as a 5-alarm fire, unleashing a tidal wave of inflammatory chemicals called cytokines. LPS is so powerfully inflammatory that scientists actually use it in labs to intentionally trigger inflammation in animals to study disease. When they inject LPS into an animal, it instantly creates the very conditions they want to research, from depression to Alzheimer's. The evidence in humans is equally damning. People with depression have dramatically elevated levels of antibodies to LPS in their blood, a smoking gun pointing to a leaky gut. Alzheimer's patients have been found to have 3 times as much LPS in their blood as healthy people. The same pattern shows up in Parkinson's, ALS, and even autism. This single molecule, LPS, moving from gut to bloodstream, is like striking a match in a room soaked in gasoline. It sets both body and brain on fire. This raises a crucial question. What damages the gut lining in the first place? What creates these holes that allow these inflammatory agents to escape? Dr. Perlmutter points to a handful of modern culprits systematically destroying our inner ecosystems. It all begins, literally, at birth. When a baby is born vaginally, it travels through the birth canal and receives its first major dose of microbes, coated in a rich, diverse community of bacteria from its mother. This is a microbial inheritance passed down for millions of years. It's like a master gardener planting the first, most crucial seeds in the soil of the baby's gut. These founding bacteria, especially strains like lactobacillus, immediately get to work, helping the baby digest breast milk, building a strong gut wall, and training the infant's brand-new immune system to distinguish friend from foe. But a baby born by C-section misses this vital baptism. Instead of being colonized by protective vaginal flora, its first microbial exposure comes from the sterile operating room and the skin of doctors and nurses. Its gut microbiome gets off to a completely different and far less robust start. Studies reveal staggering consequences. Being born by C-section is linked to a 5-fold increased risk of allergies, triple the risk of attention deficit disorder, and double the risk of autism. It also dramatically raises the risk for obesity, type 1 diabetes, and celiac disease later in life. Certainly, C-sections save lives and are sometimes medically necessary. But the skyrocketing rate of elective C-sections, now accounting for about a third of all births in the United States, is having an unintended but profound impact on an entire generation's health. The next major influence on our microbiome is infant feeding. Breast milk is nothing short of miraculous, not just for its nutrients, but because it's packed with prebiotics, special sugars indigestible to the baby, but perfect fuel for beneficial gut bacteria. It's nature's way of ensuring the good bugs flourish. Formula, no matter how advanced, can't fully replicate this magic. But perhaps the most devastating assault on our microbiome comes from the casual, widespread use of antibiotics. These drugs are modern miracles when used appropriately to fight life-threatening infections. But they're also like dropping a nuclear bomb on your gut ecosystem. A single course of broad-spectrum antibiotics can obliterate vast stretches of your microbial community, both good and bad. And your gut may never fully recover its original diversity. Remember Jason, the 12-year-old boy with severe autism Dr. Perlmutter describes? His mother took antibiotics throughout her 3rd trimester. Jason himself was on antibiotics more often than not during his first year for chronic ear infections. His gut was under relentless siege from the very beginning. Later testing showed he had virtually no lactobacillus species left, a clear sign of severe microbial trauma. And it's not just prescribed antibiotics. An estimated 80% of all antibiotics sold in the United States aren't for humans. They're for livestock, used to make animals grow bigger, faster. These drugs end up in our meat and dairy, delivering a steady trickle of microbiome-disrupting chemicals with every meal. This brings us to the food on our plates. Dr. Perlmutter makes it abundantly clear. Diet is the most powerful tool we have to shape our microbiome daily. He singles out 2 ingredients as particularly destructive: processed fructose and gluten. Fructose, especially as high-fructose corn syrup, now dominates the Western diet. Our gut bugs feast on this sugar, but it preferentially feeds the bad bacteria, leading to an overgrowth of harmful strains. This fermentation creates gas, causing bloating and discomfort. More critically, it fuels inflammation and directly damages the gut lining, making it leakier. Artificial sweeteners turn out to be just as problematic. Despite having no calories, they pass through the gut and dramatically alter the microbial landscape, often promoting glucose intolerance, a stepping stone to diabetes. Then there's gluten, the protein in wheat, barley, and rye. In Grain Brain, Dr. Perlmutter called it a silent germ. Here, he explains its mechanism of damage. Research led by scientists like Dr. Alessio Fasano at Harvard shows that a component of gluten called gliadin increases gut permeability in everyone, not just people with celiac disease. It triggers the release of a protein called zonulin, which acts like a key unlocking the tight junctions between intestinal wall cells, opening the floodgates for LPS and other inflammatory molecules to pour into your bloodstream. The cumulative effect of these modern forces, C-sections, formula feeding, antibiotics, sugar, gluten, stress, and environmental chemicals like chlorine in our water, has created a perfect storm. We've systematically dismantled our inner ecosystems, and the consequences are the very diseases plaguing us today. Take obesity. We've always thought of it as simple math: calories in versus calories out. But microbiome science flips this idea on its head. Turns out, there are fat tribes and thin tribes of bacteria. The two dominant groups in our gut are firmicutes and Bacteroidetes. Obese people consistently show a higher ratio of firmicutes to Bacteroidetes. Why? Firmicutes are incredibly efficient at extracting calories from food. They're the fat-loving bacteria. Someone with a gut dominated by them will literally absorb more calories from the exact same meal than someone whose gut is dominated by Bacteroidetes. In a landmark study, researchers took gut bacteria from human twins, one obese, one lean, and transplanted them into lean, germ-free mice. The mice receiving bacteria from the obese twin grew fat. The mice getting bacteria from the lean twin stayed lean. The bacteria alone determined their fate. This suggests that for millions struggling with weight, the problem may not be willpower, it's a battle against their own microbes. The same story unfolds with mental health. As we've seen, depression isn't just a chemical imbalance in the brain, it's an inflammatory disease. And that inflammation often starts with a leaky gut. This connection is so strong that researchers are beginning to view many psychiatric issues through a microbiome lens. Animal studies have shown you can literally transplant personalities. When shy, timid mice receive gut bacteria from adventurous, risk-taking mice, they become bold. When bold mice get bacteria from timid ones, they become anxious. The bacteria in their guts directly influence their behavior. This brings us to the most hopeful and empowering part of Dr. Perlmutter's message. If our microbiome can be damaged, it can also be healed. It's a dynamic, living garden, and we are the gardeners. He lays out a clear, actionable plan, the Brain Maker Rehab Program, built on 6 essential keys to cultivate a thriving inner ecosystem. Key 1. Choose foods rich in probiotics. Probiotics are the good bugs themselves. The best source isn't a pill, it's fermented foods. For thousands of years, cultures worldwide have consumed foods like live-cultured yogurt, kefir, kimchi fermented cabbage, sauerkraut, and kombucha fermented tea. Fermentation not only preserves food, but creates a rich source of beneficial bacteria like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, the strains that maintain gut lining integrity, regulate your immune system, and control inflammation. Key 2. Go low-carb, embrace high-quality fat. This core principle from Grain Brain becomes even more important in the microbiome context. A diet high in sugar and refined carbs feeds bad bacteria and fans the flames of inflammation. A diet rich in healthy fats, avocados, olive oil, coconut oil, nuts, seeds, wild fish, does the opposite. Fat is your brain's preferred fuel and a powerful anti-inflammatory. Cholesterol, particularly, isn't the villain we've been told. It's a critical brain nutrient, an antioxidant, and a precursor to vital hormones and vitamin D. Low cholesterol levels consistently linked to poorer cognitive function and higher depression risk. Key 3. Enjoy wine, tea, coffee, and chocolate. This might be the best news yet. These foods, in moderation, pack powerful plant-based antioxidants called polyphenols. Polyphenols are like superfoods for your good bacteria, acting as prebiotics and increasing beneficial strains like bifidobacterium, while reducing harmful ones like Clostridia. Red wine contains resveratrol, coffee improves the firmicutes to Bacteroidetes ratio, and dark chocolate's flavonoids lower C-reactive protein, a key inflammation marker. Key 4. Choose foods rich in prebiotics. If probiotics are seeds you plant in your garden, prebiotics are the fertilizer helping them grow. Prebiotics are special types of non-digestible fiber found in foods like garlic, onions, leeks, asparagus jicama, and dandelion greens. Our bodies can't digest them, but our good gut bacteria feast on them. When they metabolize these fibers, they produce incredibly beneficial compounds called short-chain fatty acids, like butyrate, the primary fuel for cells lining your colon and a powerful anti-inflammatory. Key 5. Drink filtered water. The chlorine added to most municipal tap water is a bactericide designed to kill harmful microbes in the water supply. The problem? It doesn't distinguish between bad microbes and the good ones in your gut. Drinking chlorinated water is like taking a small dose of antibiotic with every glass. A simple carbon filter pitcher or faucet-mounted filter can eliminate this threat. Key 6. Fast every season. Intermittent fasting, for example, going 24 hours without food once per season, is a powerful system reboot. Fasting enhances antioxidant function, stimulates new brain cell growth, and triggers processes that repair and grow new mitochondria, the tiny energy factories inside our cells. It also prompts positive changes in gut bacteria, favoring strains associated with longer lifespans. This plan isn't about deprivation, it's about abundance. It's about adding foods that nourish your inner garden and crowding out the ones that poison it. The results can be transformative. Dr. Perlmutter shares Carlos's story, a man with multiple sclerosis so severe he needed a wheelchair and catheter. After undergoing a revolutionary procedure called a fecal microbiota transplant, FMT, where healthy donor gut bacteria are transferred to a sick patient, his MS went into complete remission. He walked again, unassisted. He tells Martina's story, a woman who suffered from anxiety, depression, and chronic fibromyalgia pain for years. After just 6 weeks on a gluten-free diet with aggressive probiotics, she was off all medications. Her brain fog lifted, her anxiety vanished, her pain disappeared. She felt, in her words, like the fog has finally lifted. And then there's Jason, the boy with autism. His story is perhaps the most profound. After his parents followed Dr. Perlmutter's protocol and pursued an FMT, Jason transformed. The boy, who could barely speak in full sentences, trapped in a world of repetitive behaviors, became vibrant, happy, conversational. He started initiating conversations. He was present. These stories aren't miracles. They're the result of applying a new, more complete understanding of the human body. They show us we have more control over our health than we ever imagined. We're not doomed by our genes. We're not helpless victims of modern disease. We are the architects of our own internal world. When you finish a book like Brainmaker, it's hard not to feel both awe and urgency. The central idea that we're not just a single organism, but a complex ecosystem, a superorganism living in symbiosis with trillions of microbes, represents one of the most profound shifts in medical thinking in the last century. It changes everything. For generations, the medical paradigm has been to identify an enemy and destroy it, a germ, a virus, a cancer cell. We viewed the body as a machine that breaks down, with the doctor's job being to swoop in with a drug or scalpel and fix the broken part. But Dr. Perlmutter's work asks us to adopt a completely different mindset. Instead of being mechanics, we must become gardeners. Our role isn't to wage war on our bodies, but to cultivate the garden within, to tend the soil, provide the right nutrients, and foster a diverse, resilient ecosystem that can, in turn, protect and sustain us. This is an incredibly empowering perspective. It moves the center of power from the doctor's office and pharmacy back to our own kitchens, our own habits, our own daily choices. What strikes me most about this book is how it connects so many seemingly unrelated modern ailments to a single underlying root cause. Think about it: autism, depression, obesity, dementia, autoimmune disease. In conventional medicine, these are all treated by different specialists with entirely different drugs, but Brainmaker reveals they're all, in many ways, different branches of the same tree, a tree rooted in a disrupted microbiome and chronic inflammation. This isn't to say the gut is the only cause of these complex conditions, but it's a powerful and often overlooked common denominator. If you're a young person hearing this today, this knowledge is a gift. You have the opportunity to make choices now that will protect your brain and body for the rest of your life. You don't have to wait until something breaks to start paying attention. You can start building a resilient, vibrant inner world today. And you don't need drastic overnight changes. The journey begins with small, simple steps. Here are 3 things you can do this week to start applying these lessons. First, add 1 fermented food to your daily routine. It could be as simple as a cup of plain, full-fat yogurt for breakfast, a side of sauerkraut with dinner, or trying a bottle of kombucha. Just 1 serving daily begins reintroducing these vital allies into your gut. Second, swap 1 sugary drink for a healthier choice. Instead of that soda or fruit juice, which are sugar bombs, have a glass of filtered water, a cup of green tea, or naturally flavored seltzer. This 1 small change starves the bad bacteria and stops feeding the inflammation fire. Third, become a detective in your own kitchen. Pick up 1 packaged food you eat regularly, cereal, a granola bar, a sauce, and just read the ingredients. Notice the sugar content. Notice if it contains wheat or gluten. You don't have to stop eating it right away. The first step is simply awareness. Understanding what you're putting into your body is the beginning of taking back control. The message of Brainmaker is ultimately one of profound hope. It tells us our health isn't a fixed destiny written in our genes, but a dynamic story we're co-authoring every single day with the 100 trillion partners living inside us. By learning their language and understanding their needs, we can create a future of vibrant health, not just for ourselves, but for generations to come. That was a summary of Brainmaker by Dr. David Perlmutter. We've journeyed through the core ideas today, but I'll be honest, a summary can only scratch the surface. The real transformation happens when you read the book yourself. It's in those quiet moments of reading when a particular study clicks, or a patient's story resonates with your own experience in unexpected ways. This overview is your map, but the book itself is the territory. If anything we've talked about today has sparked your curiosity or given you a new sense of hope, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about gathering information. It's an experience that can genuinely change how you see yourself and your place in the world. A link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this summary valuable and want to continue exploring life-changing books, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It lets me know we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next journey into another incredible book. Let's keep learning and growing together.